Welcome back to the Grace, Grit and Everything in Between podcast. This week we are going into intuition, patience and inner wellness, when your body speaks before you do. So we're going to dive a little bit deeper. We're talking about intuition, patience and inner wellness, and how your body sends signals long before your mind catches up. So if you've ever wondered why your health flares up during stress, while waiting feels impossible, why forcing things backfires, why your intuition knows before you do, and why your body goes into dis-ease, this episode is exactly where you need to be. So let's breathe, settle in and begin. And if you haven't got a pen and a piece of paper, you might want to pause it and go and find one. Just might want to take some notes and feel free to share. So intuition is not magic. It's not woo-woo. It's your body and your subconscious speaking in a language you've forgotten to trust. Your intuition is the quiet voice before your mind gets loud. The gut feeling before logic interrupts, the immediate knowing that doesn't need evidence, the warning you feel, not hear, the guidance that keeps you aligned. So your intuition is your internal compass. Trauma, however, teaches us to second guess it. So trauma keeps you in survival mode. Survival mode says don't trust your instincts, trust what keeps you safe. So you then start to doubt your feelings, you follow others over yourself, you ignore red flags, you override your needs, you choose familiar over healthy. Intuition requires safety, survival requires scanning for danger. So if you've ever felt disconnected from your intuition, it's because you had to be. Your intuition gets louder when your environment gets quieter. So here are some tools to rebuild that connection. Get still for 5 minutes a day. That might be hard for some, but set a timer and just sit with no distractions, no TV, no phone, maybe look at the Christmas tree, but just sit with yourself for 5 minutes. You might find that your body asks questions like, does this feel heavy or light? Does this contract or expand me? The body answers before the mind does. If you've ever done I'm not sure if you've ever done this, but a really good practice is to put your hand on your heart, close your eyes and ask yourself a question. You will feel your body go forward for yes, go back for no. Just slightly, but it will happen. But you have to be in a real still space. Notice your first reaction, not the third, not the story you tell yourself. The first feeling is the truth. Journaling is so important, but write it messy and raw and unfiltered, the truth. Your intuition lives in the uncensored version of you. And stop asking for people's opinions. Every time you ask someone else for clarity, you tell your intuition she doesn't matter. Patience isn't waiting. Now I have had to learn this year all about patience, and it is eye-opening. You think it's something it's not. Patience is trusting while you wait. We think patience is passive, but patience is actually an active faith. We struggle with patience because trauma wired our brain for urgency. We fear losing control, we fear being disappointed, and we fear that nothing will change unless you force it. But here's the truth. What's meant for you doesn't respond to pressure, it responds to readiness. Patience isn't punishment, it's preparation. When you force something, you're acting from fear and not alignment. You might chase people, you might push outcomes, you force timelines, you cling to things that hurt you, and you make decisions from panic, not purpose. When you force, the energy collapses, because anything built on fear needs constant fear to survive. Intuition leads to ease, pressure leads to panic. You can't force something that's meant to flow. So your body speaks loudly, especially when you ignore your intuition. When your mind is overwhelmed, your body becomes the messenger. There is signs that your body's at dis-ease. You get flare-ups of old conditions, fatigue, anxiety, digestive issues, inflammation, hormonal imbalance, brain fog, body tension. Your body is not attacking you, your body is protecting you. When you suppress emotions, the body expresses them. What causes inner dis-ease? Ignoring your needs, staying in the wrong environments, pretending that you're okay, overcommitting, not resting, people pleasing, ignoring your intuition, and emotional exhaustion. Your physical wellness cannot survive emotional neglect. So how to heal inner dis-ease? And that is where the word disease comes from, when your body is at dis-ease. So regulation before action. You can't fix your whole life whilst you are dysregulated. Rest when your body whispers. Don't wait until it screams. Daily nervous system resets. Deep breathing, shoulder drops, 5-minute walk, grounding, sound, silence. Small things change everything. Reduce your emotional clutter. Say no to anything that drains you. Slow your pace, because you can't heal in hustle. Move your body daily, not for results, but for relief. Listen when something feels off. That feeling is guidance. How all this comes together. So when you force life, you create disease. When you rush life, you miss intuition. When you ignore intuition, you lose your way. When you lose your way, the body steps in. Intuition is the guide, patience is the process, and inner wellness is the outcome. So, I'm going to tell you a little story that I've touched on in the past podcasts. So, when I was 11 years old, my mum and dad were arguing, and the left side of my body went completely numb. And obviously that scared the life out of me. Looking back, that's when they think that fibro started for me. And obviously back then we didn't make notes of everything, but as soon as social media came along, Facebook came along, I seem to have noted everything that I was hurting, tension, this happened. And looking back, I can see that fibro had been definitely in my life, like trying to be loud. But I wasn't listening. I overworked my body. I had a full-time job. Then I had jobs evenings and weekends. Then I was still doing things at home. I had 4 children. I was renovating this house because it was derelict when I moved in. Single mum, dealing with the stresses of an ex-partner, dealing with the stresses, financial stresses and everything. And I was not listening. I kept getting these little warning signs of my health, like the migraines. The migraines started, the headaches were constant, like literally all day, every day, a headache. Then it was like waking up in the night with nightmares and PTSD. Like PTSD just literally came from nowhere. Then these night migraines and everything. And then obviously I visit a chiropractor. He manipulates my neck. And before I knew it, I was literally taken off everything that I was doing. I couldn't work anymore. I managed to keep the house going, like the children and the at-home income, but the 2 jobs, I was signed off sick. And it turned out I could not return back to an office-based job at that time. And I didn't want to be letting anyone down. So I lost that job, and I worked so hard to do that role. That was like literally my dream job. That's what I wanted to do. I wanted to be working in accountants. I wanted to do all the things I was doing. I loved every element of my job. And my health made me have to give it up. And although after a few months I went back to work and into a different role, into the restaurants that I was working in alongside the office job, my body was screaming at me to stop. Like, it was fine. As soon as you go in there, the adrenaline's running. You literally get on with your shift. As soon as I walked out that door, burst out into tears because I was hurting so much. And I still continued. I still did all the things. I still was like, no, I'm going to fight and I'm going to make this happen and nothing's going to make me stop. And then I fell in the garden. I landed on my side on concrete and literally shattered everything, like completely everything. And from that moment, I couldn't go to work. I literally had issues with I couldn't speak. I kept choking when I was drinking and eating. I had to have a speech therapist. I was stuttering. Like, literally my body got so inflamed that I had to go to King's and have digestion with the digestive consultant up there, like gastro consultant. I had to have internal massage, which is not pleasurable. They basically said to me that my body was exhausted, that every muscle in my body was inflamed. Plus, then I gained loads of weight because of the medication that I was on, which then caused even more complications because now I'm clinically obese. And literally 4 years, I just was very close to giving up because I've always worked. I've always been the person that provides. I've always been like the higher earner. I've always provided, and those 4 years allowed more abuse, more manipulation, more everything. Like, literally everything was taken away from me in those 4 years. And although I'm still there trying to fight to be heard, at that point my ex-husband had moved himself back in. He was telling everyone that I was incapable of looking after the children, that I was always drugged up on the sofa. He was the one giving me the medication. I didn't leave the house for so long. £32,000 worth of debt was racked up in my name. And I'm still paying for all that today, even though it happened, like the end of those 4 years was in 2017. Here I am in 2015, and I am still dealing with the repercussions of my actions because I didn't slow down when my body told me to, and I didn't listen. I didn't listen to all the signs. I just chose to just not. And I was very, very lost. I had studied many courses. I had done many things. I just could not see a way out in those 4 years. It was a very, very dark time. And it just so happens that, I did see a post on Facebook from my sister who was promoting this new online business that she joined, and that was my turning point in my life. That was me saying, do you know what? I know who I am. I know what I'm capable of. I am meant for more. I just need a window. I just need a funnel. I just need something. And obviously I didn't know anything about it. I didn't know anything about online selling or anything like that. It was very, very new back in 2017. And I just threw myself in and started learning. You know, back then I was still having 3-hour naps. As I say, I was overweight. I was just trying to kind of get myself back. And it took until March 2019 for me to actually get enough strength. I started having sessions with a life coach in the December 2018, and by March 2019 I was able to fly to Utah on my own to attend a retreat for survivors of childhood sexual abuse. And that retreat literally was a complete turning point for the rest of my life, because it summed up that everything that I'd gone through, everything that I'd experienced was for a reason. They made it very, very clear at the retreat that the situation at home needed to change, and I did my best when I got back to make that change, but it didn't happen. And it was actually just a stranger on Facebook that got into my messenger one day and said, you do realise that that's domestic abuse? I'd gone live, I'd said something that had gone on. I think I was just talking about just life in general. And I didn't believe that it was domestic abuse, because, you know, we weren't even married. We weren't married, and he was just co-parenting, because that's what he told me that we were doing. We were just co-parenting. So it just goes to show that things do happen to keep you safe automatically. You don't need to force things. You don't need to go looking for things. You just need to trust yourself and know what is right and what is wrong. And if you make a wrong decision, it's not failure. It's just another lesson. I know there's a lot of women in the world struggling because they've had trauma in their life, which is why I show up and do these podcasts and why I show up online, because it's a niche that not everyone has experience in, thankfully, but there is a hell of a lot of us that have experienced trauma. So if these podcasts help you in any sort of way, please feel free to share them. Thank you for being here today, and thank you for choosing your growth, your peace, and your healing with me. If this episode helped you, please share it, follow the podcast, and hit the subscriber button. It means the world to me, and it helps me get this message across to as many people as I can, all those women that really need it. And if you're ready to work with me more deeply, I'm currently taking on new coaching clients. So if you're ready to connect with yourself, build confidence, heal your patterns, and change your life, then just honestly get in touch with me for the link. I love you. I accept you. And I am proud of you. I'll see you at the next episode. Remember your mirror work.